Welcome to the Collide Kids podcast, hosted by Christen Clark. This is a show for kids and families. You are going to meet new people and have fun while you listen. Let's do it!
Hey y'all, welcome to the Collide Kids podcast. I'm your host, Christen Clark. The Collide Kids podcast is a show for kids and families where we learn together how life and faith collide. I am so glad that you are here today. Thank you so much for listening and spending this time with me. Hey, if this is your first time listening, I just want to say welcome. I am so glad you're here, and I hope that you come back for more. Be sure to listen to the end of every episode. That's where we have the kids only segment where kids just like you get to be on the podcast. Well, if you're a fan of the podcast, it would mean so much to me if you would share these episodes that you enjoy with your friends and family. You can share them in an email or text message, or you can share them on social media and let the people that you love know about this podcast. And hey, if you haven't already, would you just take a moment to leave a rating and a review on the podcast app you're using right now? It only takes a few seconds, and it really is so great to read those. I love hearing about what you guys think about the show. Well, today I'm really excited to share my interview with my new friend, Dione Napier. She is a singer, a vocal performance and life coach, and doctor of musical arts turned online entrepreneur. In 2002, Dione began coaching singers at the age of 16. She has sung with many notable musical groups and has won many competitions for classical performances. Dione studied music at the university level and holds a doctorate degree in vocal performance with an emphasis in classical music and opera. She now helps singers of diverse musical styles train their mindset and their vocal skill set so they can become the impactful singer they were created to be. Dione's clients include singers who have worked with Disney, as well as recording artists, university students, church worship leaders, vocal teachers, and even performers from the Angelica tour of Hamilton the musical. You guys, this was such an interesting conversation for me, especially with my background as a vocal coach and also as someone who took voice lessons for many years. So I think you're really going to enjoy this conversation with my friend Dione Napier. Dione, I am so excited to have you on the Collide Kids podcast today. Thank you so much for being here.
Absolutely. I'm glad to be here with you.
Yeah, this is so fun. I'm excited to talk to you. Will you just introduce yourself? Tell us a little bit about who you are and what you do.
Yeah, absolutely. So I am Dione Napier. I am from a small city in Jackson, Tennessee. I'm a vocal coach. I'm a mother of 2 children. I'm the wife of Eric. And yeah, I coach singers. I help them sing better. I pretty much deal with professional level singers and those that come from universities and conservatories. But I really help them to break through their limiting beliefs, and I help them to build a voice that can sing anything. So that's what I do, and that's who I am.
I love that. I'm so excited. I know all the people that are interested in music and singing, their ears just perked up. Like they want to hear this. So I'm excited for us to talk about what you do because I think it's so fascinating. And I have a little bit of experience in that as well. But before we get into that, because this is a show for kids, we always start out with a joke or something funny. So do you have something you want to share with us today?
I do.
Okay.
I've got a little quick joke. So, what did the color red say to the color purple?
I don't know.
I'm different. I told you it was kind of lame.
I'm different. That's true. That's true. Love it. All right. Well, let's see. So you are a vocal coach. Tell us a little bit about what that is. What is a vocal coach?
Yeah, so basically I am helping intermediate to advanced level singers. I'm helping them to expand their skill set. Like I said, I primarily work with university trained singers. So when you study voice in the university and conservatories, there is one single track usually, and that is the track of classical singing and operatic performance. And so I help those singers expand that vocal skill set so that they can sing contemporary music without sounding operatic. And that's a different skill set that the school does not teach us. And
right.
So that is my focus. That is who I target the most. And then also those that are contemporary singers in the professional space, but their technique is not really solid. I help them too, because a lot of times they're out there working, but they have not had any type of formal training to maintain their voice. And so I give them tools and resources and coaching to help them sustain their voice for the demands of the industry. So yeah, that's what I do. What separates me in the industry though is that I focus a lot on mindset and breaking through limiting beliefs. I think it's important. Like the Bible tells us, as a man thinks in his heart, so he is. And so whatever a singer thinks about themselves, whatever a singer thinks about his or her voice, that's going to come out. And so a lot of times singers have words that people have spoken, choir directors, audition people, mom and dad, words that have not been the most uplifting and most encouraging, and they're going through their career and they're singing, but they kind of hit a ceiling and a wall, and they don't understand why. And so when we start asking them questions like, tell me about your musical background, I hear a lot of times, well, I had a choir teacher that told me I couldn't sing that high, so I always just keep my voice right here. Or my mom used to sing a lot, and I was afraid to come up after her because she was like the big star, and I felt like I couldn't really measure up, so I just kind of hang in the background, that kind of stuff. And so I like to walk singers through a process of identifying those limiting beliefs and those things that block them from progressing. And once we can uproot those, their voice opens up and their confidence explodes.
Yeah. Wow. I think that's really important for kids to hear, that sometimes people are going to say things to you. Yes. And just because they say that to you doesn't always mean that it's true.
Right.
Why do you think we believe those things or hold on to those things for so long? Like that's a struggle that I know a lot of adults have, is somebody says something and we hang on to it forever. Why do we do that?
Yeah. I believe it can depend on who is saying it. So if it's coming from an authority figure, if it's coming from a teacher, if it's coming from a parent, as a child, we're typically looking to that person for guidance. There's a sense of honor or respect, that we have. And so when they say those words, it holds weight. And also words are powerful.
Yes.
I'm telling you, I was just talking to some children maybe last month, and I was telling them, sticks and stones may break my bones, but words will never hurt me is a lie. Don't believe it. Right. Because the truth is, I showed them a science experiment of the effect of words on water, how it made different crystal formations based on if life-giving words were spoken or if death words were spoken. And it was amazing. And I showed them we are 70% water. And so the words that we hear, the words that we take in, it does affect us. There is a spirit behind our words, either a spirit of life or a spirit of death, which the Bible talks about that too, life and death being in our tongue. So why do we hold on to it? I think it can be, authority figures. And I believe it's the power of words. Words create feelings, words create moods, words create things. And so if they're not life-giving words, it can really hinder us in our life. And we have to go through that process of identifying who told me that, and then identifying, is it true? Does it align with the scriptures? Does it align with what God said I'm capable to do? Usually it doesn't. And then once you decide that, you have to uproot it. You break agreement with it and say, no, I am not going to believe that. I'm not going to agree with that lie. And then you replace it with the truth from the word of God. What did God say that I am? What did God say I'm capable of doing? And then you have to rehearse that truth. You have to meditate on it until it becomes your new belief. So it is a process. It is a process, but it's absolutely possible. And so that's what I encourage my singers in the studio to do.
We'll be right back after this. Raising kids in the digital age isn't easy, but Bark Technology makes products that help parents keep their kids safe online and in real life. They have an app, a phone, and a home device that lets families set parental controls on their internet-connected devices. I love the app because it helps us manage screen time and blocks websites and apps we want our kids to avoid. It also sends alerts and gives us the ability to monitor texts and social media and even track your child's location. Visit bark.us to learn more about how you can keep your kids safe online. Use the code COLLIDEKIDS to get 15% off your subscription of the Bark app. I love that your job is as a vocal coach is not just helping them with learning to sing better or fixing their vocal practices. It's also about their spiritual and their mental abilities and focusing on that. So that's so amazing that that's part of your job.
Yeah, that's my purpose in life. I mean, you know, when I first started doing like online marketing and trying to, get out there, and I'm still new. I mean, I'm just in year 2. But when I first started, I was doing kind of some of the same things I saw other coaches do. And I was like, okay, this is what people need. So let's talk about mixed voice. Let's talk about how to breathe. Let's talk about, some of those technical things, And I did that, and I was like, this is not the fullest expression of who I am. This right here is a skill set that I've learned, and I love it, and I can teach it, and I can talk about it all day because that's my skill set. But my passion is to see people free from the bondage and from the demons that block them from progressing in life. I want to get in that soul. I want to get the spiritual alignment, because when we get that aligned, and I see it in my studio all the time, when we can uproot those limiting beliefs and get the truth in there, the voice opens up. So it makes the voice training accelerate. It doesn't take me all day with my students. I'm serious. Like, it doesn't take me long to build a voice from 0 to nothing. It doesn't take long because I start with the mindset work. That's most of the confidence right there.
Yeah, that's good.
Yeah.
I'd love to hear your experience in this, like how you figured out this was your purpose in life. Like, where did you start as a singer and how did you get to this point?
Oh, yeah. So I've been singing all of my life since I was like 6. My dad is a musician. And so I was introduced to music in my home growing up. Lots of music, lots of church music. I played piano for 10 years, led choirs. I sang in church, and so I auditioned in college for a music scholarship. And one of the vocal professors there pulled me to the side, and she was like, you should consider doing voice performance, because I was going to school for recording industry, actually, or entertainment law. I can't remember. I think it was entertainment law or recording industry, one of them. And she encouraged me to do performance. And so I was like, okay, if she sees that in me, that's fine. I always loved foreign languages. And so the whole idea of singing classical music, opera, I was open to it, And so I got in there and I did it. I did a bachelor's, a master's, and a doctorate. And I went through the program. I did the steps. I did all the stuff. But it just did not make me feel the most alive. Like, I could do it because I was talented and I did it at a decent level. I won thousands of scholarship dollars, to go to school and in pageants, singing opera. But it just did not make me feel the most alive. And I did not really, I think, verbalize that or come to grips with that until once I graduated. And I was like, okay, what do I do? Because I was bored with classical music. And I was no longer interested in pursuing a dream of being an opera singer. And I didn't want to go back to academia to teach because I had been 11 straight years through. And I'm like, I'm not getting on another college campus. I'm done. Okay. I'm done. And so I actually pivoted into a sales and direct sales and marketing job that really changed my life. And I began to see, like, there are skill sets that I carry in addition to music that I can like fuse it all together. And I've always loved teaching. I've always loved coaching, helping people get results. Like, I started directing a choir and kind of coaching at 16, adults. And so I've always been good at it. I've always enjoyed it. And so I don't know. It's a process. It's a lot of trial and error. It's a lot of conversations with God. It's a lot of, I invest in coaching. I went through a life coaching class. I've had coaching, people that could ask me the right questions to get the answers out of me so I could write it down, look at it, lay it before the Lord. And so through a process of time, I just realized like I am called to teach and to coach and to help people find their identity. Like at the core, that's what I'm here to do. And I'm here to help people, break through their limiting beliefs so they can see themselves. All of that's tied into, I guess, teaching and coaching is the way that I do that. But my purpose is all about helping people get free, helping people live an abundant life, and really to see themselves as God sees them. And so I did that in a direct ministry context for several years, lots of church experiences. But then I felt the call of the Lord say, I want you to take that and I want you to fuse that with your vocal training experience, because that industry needs my voice. That industry needs this revelation about who they are and about who I am too. So it's a mission now of mine,
That's so good. And I always love, like, I've had a lot of people on my podcast talk about how God put this passion inside of them and they didn't really even know what it was at the time, So like, I love how God like takes different parts of our life and puts it together at some point. Yes. I heard somebody say that a long time ago, like God doesn't waste anything. Nope. So everything we go through that we're like, that was weird. Why did I have to learn that? Or why did I have to go through that? God uses those experiences to put things together later that we can't even imagine. And I love that about God, that he has a better imagination than I do.
Yes, always.
Yeah. So I love learning about how passionate you are about this, because I think it's so interesting. Like you said, that this is an industry that needs to hear God's voice in it. They need to hear how God sees them. So you're passionate about helping people in this industry learn how God sees them. So why do you think that is, that there are so many people in this industry that don't know that?
Woo! Well, some of it, I believe the ones that are supposed to be speaking for God and being the influencers in the industry have been influenced by the industry.
Wow.
The other way around, right? I think that's a big problem. I think a big problem is that the church, the sons of God, have not really spent that time to get clear on our identity. So we're not so impressed by the industry and the entertainment and all the celebrity. I think that's probably the first thing. The sons of God, we don't know who we are. We need to come back to the feet of Jesus and say, God, I need you to tell me who I am as a son. Get built in that identity, and then we can be sent into the entertainment space and influence and shine the light without their influence darkening us. Does that make sense?
Yeah, because we like to go into the church and we're going to all be a light here in the church together. But the purpose of the church is for us to take that light and send it out. And we miss that a lot.
We do. So, yeah, I believe that's a huge reason why the entertainment industry is not as influenced by light as it could be. Now, there are people in the industry that are doing work. I'm not ignorant to that. There are. But I believe that we definitely could have a bigger voice, a bigger influence once we as the church who are called to that space, that are called to that sphere, once we get ourselves together, we can go shine, because they're hungry for it. They're looking for peace, and they're looking for all of these things, and they're trying to access it through New Age. They're trying to access it through yoga. They're trying to access it through all these different popular things, but there is still a void. There is still a void, Yeah, it's a mission field. And for those of us who can really lock in with Jesus and know who we are, what we were born for, and have the boldness to go and speak truth, and the boldness to go and tell them this is who you really are. It's up to us. It's up to the church to get out of the comfortable four walls and to go be the light. And we need to be pushed to go. And God has pushed me to go. And I have had a desire to go, because honestly, I got kind of bored in church. I'm like, we coming up here doing the same thing. And this is good, because we should gather. We should provoke each other to good works. But it's like, this is our filling station. then we got to be sent out. You know what I mean? So yeah, I burn for the marketplace. Like, I desire to see people in the marketplace set on fire. I do. So anyway, I'm learning how to navigate it, but yeah, I'm learning how to navigate it, but I'm with it. I said yes to the call.
Then that's what you're supposed to do. Say yes, even if you don't know what the question is. Like, whatever you say, Lord, I'm just going to follow along with you.
Yes.
So will you just explain a little bit about what it's like to have a vocal coach? Like, what do your students learn from you? Give us some insight into what you teach and how you teach it.
Yeah. So I will talk about when I used to do more one-on-ones, like, cause now it's more group and mentorship and coaching, but I'll talk about when I used to do my one-on-ones. So a person would come to me that, wants to improve their voice. Let's say they sing in church or they do community, singing, and they just want to sing better. The top things that people were looking for is more confidence in their voice. And then also, like the breathing thing. How do I breathe for singing? That's a big thing. And so, when I used to do one-on-ones primarily, I would bring them in. I would pretty much listen. I do a lot of listening on my first lessons. And so I would just listen. I would check their registers. Like, I don't start with breathing anymore. It may be a little controversial. I check to see, how solid is their chest voice, their mixed voice, their head voice. What we do, warm-ups, definitely, do warm-ups. And then I have them to sing for me. I have them to just, let me just hear you sing. Let me hear what you do naturally. So it's a lot of listening, a lot of encouragement. And then I typically have a system of things that I teach. So we'll talk about breath, for a little bit. And then we'll talk about, say, articulation, not in this order. So see, with me, I listen and observe what the student is doing. And I plan their course based on really what the Holy Spirit says, honestly. So I flow. Like, one student, initial lesson, I'm like, okay, especially if they're already singing. Like, if they're singing in church and doing stuff, like, I'm not going to do all this stuff. No, I want to get straight to the action so they can get quick results. So I had a guy that was singing in a worship team, and I was like, all right, we did his first lesson. I was like, nope, I'm taking him straight to articulation. You know what I mean? So we just worked on the articulation and the diction aspect, getting those consonants and vowels more active so his speech wasn't lazy, and then from there, we worked on, I think, a little breathing stuff. So I just move however the Holy Spirit says, like, this student needs this student needs this. And really, it's kind of a week-to-week thing. Like, whatever the Lord will tell me, whatever I can see when I'm, watching them, it's just, no two students have the same, flow. It's different based on that student's need, and it's all led by Holy Spirit.
That's good. I think a lot of people should do their jobs that way. Like, they're like, I have a certain protocol list I have to go through. And so for us to just think about, like, when we make decisions or working with people, like, let God lead us into what's the best way to do that. Even if it's just something that has to do with our job, that's how God works is he, if we're obedient to him, he works through us and he gets to do amazing things through us. So that's really cool.
Yeah.
That's good. I have taken voice lessons for many years and had vocal coaches through my life. And I think one of the things, like you said, the biggest thing for me is just it gave me more confidence. So once you have someone that's encouraging you and kind of helping pull some things out of you that you didn't know you could do or things that you didn't know you were capable of, that's what's amazing about having, any type of coach, especially with music and things like that. So I love that. And I encouraged anyone that was in ministry or anyone that was doing anything like singing or whatever, you need a coach. Like, if this is going to be part of your job, then that's something that you need to take care of. It's an instrument that God's given us.
It is. And, the mindset around that I've seen is like, if I can just sing naturally, I don't need a coach. And that is not true. I had a student that told me, she eventually became a student, but she was like, Dione, for a long time, I would just hear this voice tell me, like, you don't need a coach. You already know how to sing. And she was like, but I'm so glad I got in here, and it's really the opposite. If you do have a natural ability, you definitely need a coach. Think about the athletic industry. Do you know what I mean? Like Michael Jordan, LeBron, they had coaches and they're top tier performers. They weren't out there just winging it by themselves. They had coaches. So, I would love to see the mindset change around the necessity of having a coach, the necessity of having somebody that's going to give you like a laid out plan that you can follow, that's going to help you get to your goals faster. It's going to keep you from wasting time. Do you know what I mean? But it is an investment. So you've got to see yourself as I am investing in, myself. I'm investing in my instrument. And so I think that there's room for mindsets to be shifted a little bit around the necessity of having a coach, especially if the person or their child is naturally gifted.
Right. And if you're, like you said, inclined to that, it's not just about learning how to do it. Mm-mm. It's about making yourself better and continuing to grow. So if it's something you're passionate about, why wouldn't you keep investing in that and making sure that was something that, got better as you got older? Because that's the other part that kids don't realize is things change as we get older.
They do.
Our voices change as we get older. And so you have to learn different ways to work with what you got. So, yeah. Well, Dione, this has been so good. I have loved talking with you today, and I love learning from you and all the things you've said about speaking life and just not listening to the negative things that we've been told all that time. I think that's important for any area of life we're in. We need to trust in what God has said to us, what we've learned from the scriptures, and just put those things to the test. So thank you for that encouragement, for sharing that today.
Absolutely. You're welcome.
Before I let you go, I always like to ask my guests to share a memory from when they were a kid. So do you have a memory you want to share with us today?
I do. I had a fun memory. So I actually went on 2 cruises as a kid with my mom. My dad didn't want to go because he's kind of a homebody. But my mom liked to get out. We went to Mexico and we went to the Bahamas. And I remember being, young with all these adults, but it was really a great experience, being that I think I may have been like 9 and maybe 11. I don't remember. But yeah, just going on those trips, being able to travel and being on the cruise ship, seeing lots of stuff that I couldn't engage in, but still being in the environment was just really, really cool. So yeah, those are some fond memories of my childhood.
That's really cool that you and your mom had that special time together.
Yeah, it was fun.
That's awesome. That's good. And I love a good cruise. So that sounds so fun.
Yes.
Well, Dione, tell our listeners how they can find you and learn more about what you do.
Absolutely. You can visit my website. It's www.amplifyvocalstudio.com. You can find me on Instagram at Amplify Vocal Studio. I'm also on Facebook, same name. And then YouTube, Amplify Vocal Studio. You can find me.
Awesome. Well, thank you again so much for being on the Collide Kids podcast. This was great.
You're welcome. Thanks for having me.
Wow, I loved learning from Dione today. She was so encouraging, and she was right. Being a vocal coach has a lot to do with listening to your students, listening to the music. And I love what she said. It's not just about singing for her, but it's about helping people to be free from lies. She wants to help people uproot limiting beliefs and the lies that we believe about ourselves and replace them with the truth from God's word and who God says we are. And I love how she compared it to being an athlete. Just like all the professional athletes that you see out there today, they have coaches. Even though they have this natural talent, they have coaches that help them become better. And so if you're interested in singing or you have a natural talent for something, having a coach or a teacher to help you to learn how to use that talent is so important, and it really will take you so much further. If you'd like to learn more about Dione and her job as a vocal coach, you can go to her website, amplifyvocalstudio.com. You can also check her out on social media at Amplify Vocal Studio. Well, now it's time for the kids only segment. This is the part of the show where you get to be on the podcast. And I have to tell you, a few weeks ago, I met two kids, Charlie and Alex. And Charlie was on last week's episode. But this week we have Alex, and he was so excited to sing his favorite song for me. So check this out. This is my friend Alex.
Hi, my name's Alex.
Sing the Toys R Us song? Go ahead.
I don't want to grow up. I'm a Toys R Us kid. They've got a million toys at Toys R Us that I can play with. 2 bikes, 2 trains, 2 video games. It was the biggest toy store there is. I want to grow up. 'Cause if I did, I wouldn't be a Toys R Us kid.
I just loved his voice. You know, I grew up with Toys R Us, the store, and it was a pretty great place. And I'm kind of sad that it's not around anymore. So that made me feel a little nostalgic. So thank you, Alex, for sharing that. That was so good. Hey, if you would like to be on the podcast just like Alex was and share your favorite song, or maybe you have a Bible verse or a joke that you want to share, you can go to my website, collidekidspodcast.com, and click the tab at the top that says Kids Only, or you can find information about how to send it to me through my social media. I'm on Facebook at the Collide Kids Podcast and on Instagram at Collide Kids Pod, where you can also follow and learn more about the things that I share about the podcast. Hey, if you would like to support the podcast, there's a few ways you can do it. Like we said at the beginning, share this episode or the episodes that you love with your friends and family. Follow this podcast, subscribe, and leave a rating and a review. Those are such helpful ways for more people to learn about the show. And I always appreciate your prayer support as well. Well, I hope you guys have an amazing weekend. Thank you so much for listening. And in case no one has told you today, I would love to be the first to remind you that God loves you so very much.
You don't have to go very far looking for bad news because somehow it just finds you. So finding peace in the chaos can be really difficult, but it doesn't have to be because the River mobile app exists. The River is a Christian music radio station dedicated to playing music to help you get through life's toughest moments or life's happiest moments and everywhere in between. And all from artists who love Jesus and are real people just like you. Listening is easy. You can download it wherever you get apps from. Just search 1049 The River or listen online at riverradio.com. And know that The River is proud to partner with the Collide Kids podcast.